Good morning. Thank you for your patience as we organized. I would like to call the meeting of the Senate Finance and Assembly Ways and Means to order. And Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson. Assemblywoman Backus. Assemblywoman Brown May. Assemblywoman Dickman. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Assemblyman Hafen. Assemblywoman Howdigi. Assemblywoman Kasama. Assemblyman Miller. Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblywoman Peters. Assemblyman Watts. Assemblyman Yeager. Senator Cannizzaro. Senator Goycochea. Senator Harris. Senator Neal. Senator Nguyen. Senator Severs-Gansert. Senator Titus. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. Chair Don Daraloop.
Thank you very much. And would you please mark Assemblywoman Howdigi, Senator, okay, great. Hallelujah. Mark that one off your list. Senator Neal and Senator Gansert present when they arrive. Thank you very much. And with that, we will be doing budget closings today of the Office of Federal Assistance, Office Science, Innovation, and Technology, the Secretary of State's Office, and the Public Employees Benefit Program. We'll be doing 7 closings today, and we'll begin first with the Office of Federal Assistance. And we will take the committee through the closing packet. So for those in the audience, if you need that, they are available on Nellis. And and I'm not even going to try this. Yakovlev, is that right?
Yeah, he gave you the thumbs up.
Please come forward and start when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Yuri Yakovlev, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. I'll be presenting the closing document for the Office of Federal Assistance, which is on page 3 of the packet and has not been previously heard by the committees. The agency provides grant-related support to other state agencies, including identifying grant opportunities and providing trainings to ensure state agencies comply with state and federal grant requirements. This agency was previously under the Department of Administration and was named the Office of Grant Procurement and Coordination. This budget has no major closing issues and 5 other closing items. Regarding closing item number 5, it's noted that Assembly Bill 445 from the 2021 legislative session was appropriated $1.1 million to the agency to implement a centralized grant management system for the state. The agency had a contract up for approval at the January 2023 Board of Examiners meeting, but it was withdrawn by the Governor's Office. Currently, the agency is providing additional information to the Governor's Office and anticipates implementing the system sometime in fiscal year 2024. However, Assembly Bill 445 required the $1.1 million to be committed for expenditure by the end of fiscal year 2023. Or reverted back to the general fund. So the subcommittee may wish to recommend authorizing fiscal staff to include back language in the Appropriations Act to extend the $1.1 million to the end of the 2023-25 biennium. Additionally, the base budget includes annual maintenance expenditures for the centralized system totaling $184,030 over the biennium. Decision Unit E230 was inadvertently included in the budget, which duplicates the funding for the same expenditures. So fiscal staff recommends Decision Unit E230 not be approved. So therefore, fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 through 4 be closed as recommended by the Governor, and other closing item 5 not be approved. Additionally, fiscal staff requests authority to include back language in the 2023 Appropriations Act to extend the deadline to expend the legislatively approved general fund appropriations of $1.1 million for the implementation of a grants management system to the end of the 2023-25 biennium, and requests authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve as stated by staff.
Thank you. Second? Thank you very much. A motion from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, a second from Senator Canizaro. Are there any discussion questions about this item? Okay, not seeing any. With that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, and please go ahead when you're ready. Sorry, we're switching.
Thank you.
And good morning, Mr. English. And the next budget up is the Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology. And please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committees. My name is Chris English from LCB Fiscal for the record. We are here today to close Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology. This budget has 4 major closing issues, and the first of those can be found on page 7 of your packet. It is a new position to support graduate medical education. The governor recommends $197,992 in general fund appropriations over the 2023-25 biennium to add 1 management analyst position to support the graduate medical education program. The agency has indicated this additional position is required to effectively manage the program and to ensure grantees are meeting their obligations. A related issue is seen in other closing item 2, where the governor recommends transferring the $8.6 million in general funds to the OSIP budget from the special appropriations budget within the governor's finance office. The total funding for the graduate medical education program is not recommended to increase over the 2023 to 25 biennium, but the total number of grantees is expected to increase, and with more grantees, the total amount of work is expected to increase. The decision can be found on page 8 of your packet. Do the committees wish to approve $197,992 in general fund appropriations over the 23 to 25 biennium to support management analyst position and associated expenditures? To support 1 management analyst position and associated expenditures to support the graduate medical education program as recommended by the governor.
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve this decision unit as stated by staff.
Motion by Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, second by Senator Canizaro. Are there any questions or discussion on this? Thank you very much. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much. Motion passes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Major closing issue 2 is funding for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics grant programs. The governor recommends $1.3 million in general fund appropriations over the 2023-25 biennium to fund the STEM Workforce Development Grant Program and the K-5 STEM Grant Program. This decision unit would bring the level of funding for the 2 STEM programs to $4 million in general fund appropriations over the biennium, which would match the total legislatively approved funding for the 2021 to 23 biennium for the STEM Workforce Development Grant Program. The decision unit can be found on page 11 of your packet. Do the committees wish to approve $1.3 million in general fund appropriations over the 2023 to 25 biennium to support the STEM Workforce Development Grant Program and the K-5 STEM Grant Program as recommended by the governor?
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve the $1.3 million in general fund appropriations over the 2023-2025 biennium for this decision unit as stated by our fiscal staff.
Thank you very much. A motion by Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, a second by Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Please go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Major closing issue 3 is increased funding for broadband state match program funds. The governor recommends $1.9 million in general fund appropriations over the 2023 to 25 biennium to support the broadband state match program. This program leverages state funds to draw down additional federal E-rate funds used to improve internet connectivity in schools and libraries. The governor recommends funding the program to operate at the pre-pandemic level of $1 million per fiscal year. Additionally, the 2021 Money Committees approved continuing language to allow general fund appropriations of up to $1 million per year approved for this program to be available to be expended in either year of the biennium. Fiscal staff has included this recommendation for the committee's consideration as other closing item 3. The decision can be found on page 12. Do the committees wish to approve $1.9 million in general fund appropriations over the 2023 to 25 biennium to support the broadband state match program as recommended by the governor?
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve the $1.9 million in general fund appropriations over the 23-25 biennium to support the broadband state match program as recommended by the governor.
Thank you very much. Motion from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. I'll take a second from Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Thank you very much, and go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Major closing issue 4 is the American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus Capital Project Fund and the Broadband Equity Access and Development Fund. The governor has not recommended receipt or expenditure of ARPA Coronavirus Capital Project Funds nor federal Broadband Equity Access and Development Fund grant funds over the 2023 to 25 biennium. According to the agency, the federal government has allocated the state of Nevada $135.6 million in ARPA Coronavirus Capital Project funding. And according to the agency, the Broadband Equity Access and Development Fund guarantees each state at least $100 million, and this is expected to be received in the first year of the 2023 to 25 biennium. With respect to the ARPA Coronavirus Capital Project Funds, OSIT has submitted plans for 2 projects to the U.S. Department of Treasury. The first project, which has received Treasury approval, is a $55.2 million project to increase internet connectivity and available speeds through construction of last-mile fiber to Nevada's public housing multi-dwelling units. The second project, which is approximately $74 million, is awaiting Treasury approval, and the agency expects to receive this approval soon. With respect to the BEAD funds, the Broadband Equity Access and Development Fund, OSIT has indicated that each of the 50 states will receive a minimum of $100 million. And on June 30th, 2023, the National Telecommunications and Information Administration is expected to publish each state's Broadband Equity Access and Development Fund allocation, which OSIT has estimated will be between $250 million and $400 million. The agency has expressed its intent to be transparent with federal grant funding for broadband, but has also indicated that accurately budgeting these funds by fiscal year is difficult due to reasons outside of OSIT's control, such as federal approval of OSIT's plans and permitting processes through federal land agencies like the Bureau of Land Management. As a result of these uncertainties, OSIT has requested the Money Committees approve the full amounts of both federal grant funds for broadband in the first year of the biennium. While this request appears reasonable to fiscal staff, the committees may wish to issue a letter of intent establishing requirements to report to the IFC on a semi-annual basis for the 2023 to 25 biennium to keep the committees apprised of funding received, OSIT's progress in awarding funding, and progress made in expanding broadband infrastructure through Nevada. The decision point can be found on page 14 of your packet. Do the committees wish to approve $130 million in revenues and expenditures associated with the American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus Capital Project Fund, and $100 million in Broadband Equity Access and Development Funds in the legislatively approved budget for FY24? And if so, do the committees wish to issue a letter of intent directing OSIT to submit semi-annual reports to the Interim Finance Committee for the 2023 to 25 biennium, with the first report covering the period of July 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023, submitted no later than 45 days after the last day of each 6-month reporting period?
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion. Certainly. Senator Titus?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to ask a question on this one. I just need some clarification perhaps from staff, because I think it makes a difference on how I'm going to, whether I'll support this or not. So right now they have approximately $130 million in ARPA funds that has been allocated to them. But we have a timeline on when we must spend that money or it reverts back. So if they're on the other page, they're going to take 5 years, a 5-year proposal, but is that a separate pot of money? They don't have to spend that. So I'm confused if we'll lose this money if we allow them. It's a lot of money, adding the $100 million and then $230 million, so $330 million, and it has to be spent by X date. Are they going to be able to get that done, or will we lose this ARPA funding? So I need clarification. Thank you.
Mr. English, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Titus, to your question, the agency has indicated they believe they will be able to spend all of these funds. The decision unit is focused on making these funds available for them to spend. The uncertainty comes with when exactly they're going to be able to find contractors and the correct people to actually lay fiber throughout rural Nevada, things like that. So this would make that funding available in the first year of the biennium and allow them to balance forward with no change in purpose into the second year if those big contracts may happen in the second year instead.
And follow up on that, if I might. So why was this not included in the governor's budget? Was it an oversight, or they didn't want to include it?
That's a good question. The Capital Project Fund, in the budget hearing testimony, the agency indicated that they believed they had requested approval for that fund. And in further conversation, it became clear that they had received approval for just the administration and planning portion of that fund, which is a smaller dollar amount, $5.6 million. But the larger $130 million that had been allocated by the U.S. Department of Treasury had not been requested through the IFC. Mm-hmm.
Please, Assemblywoman Hafen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quick clarification. I think I'm reading this right, but I just want you to clarify. We've already submitted the applications to the treasuries for these funds to spend this money for both the last mile fiber and the rural broadband. We're just waiting approval from the Treasury and obviously either this body or IFC, correct?
Yes, Assemblyman Hafen, thank you for the question. That is correct with respect to the Capital Project Fund. Yes.
Thank you very much. I see Mr. Mitchell in the audience. Perhaps you can come to the table and give us some additional information. And besides that, we'd love to see that pink bow tie. Thank you.
Brian Mitchell for the record, and my apologies for being tardy. There was a wreck on 580 South.
Glad you're here safely.
Happy to provide, is there a specific question, or would you like me to address the previous questions?
Would you please address the previous questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian Mitchell for the record. To Assemblywoman Titus, the funding that in the Capital Projects Fund must be expended completely by December 31st, 2026. So we have plenty of time to expend the funds, but we need to be able to start getting them out as soon as possible. to Assemblyman Hafen's question, the funding, we've submitted plans to Treasury, which are under review. One plan has been approved, and the second is still under review. And so the item in the budget today would allow us to expend the funding as we have proposed to Treasury.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions or discussion? All right, I will accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve the $130 million in revenues and expenditures associated with the American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus Capital Project Fund and $100 million in broadband equity access and deployment funds in the legislative approved budget for FY24. In addition, I request that a letter of intent directing OSIT to submit semi-annual reports to the Interim Finance Committee for the 23-25 biennium, with the first report covering the period of July 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023, submitted no later than 45 days after the last day of each 6-month reporting period.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, for that motion, and I'll take a second from Senator Canizaro. And any discussion on the motion? Thank you very much. With that, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Mitchell, for joining us. And Mr. English, go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This budget has 3 other closing items, and those can be seen on page 15. And the decision unit for those other closing items can be found on the top of page 16. Fiscal staff recommends other closing item 1 be closed as recommended by the governor. Other closing item 2 be closed as recommended by the governor with back language to the Appropriations Act, allowing the funding for the graduate medical education grants to be transferred between fiscal years of the 2023 to 25 biennium. And other closing item 3 to add back language to the Appropriations Act for the 2023 to 25 biennium to allow funding for the broadband state match program to be transferred between fiscal years of the 2023 to 25 biennium. Fiscal staff requests authority to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much. I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve this closing item as stated by SAV and giving our staff the authority to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Motion from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, a second from Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. English. All right, we will next go on to the Secretary of State's office. There are 2 budgets to be closed, Budget Account 1050 and Budget Account 1051. And so with that, we'll ask Ms. Crockett to join us, and please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kathy Crockett, Fiscal Analysis Division. There are 2 Secretary of State budgets. The first begins on page 17. This is Budget 1050, the main operating budget. There are 2 major closing issues in this budget. The first relates to new positions. The governor is recommending general funds of $477,799 over the upcoming biennium for 4 new positions. The first new position is in Decision Unit E, 125. That is a new business process analyst position to be assigned to the business portal team to work on the Silver Flume portal. This position would be responsible for developing system requirements, testing system functionality, providing training on system enhancements, and logging, tracking, and monitoring customer service requests. The agency reports there are currently nearly 400 identified bugs in the system that needs to be addressed, and the new position would assist with this. Furthermore, the agency notes that the governor recommends a $15 million general fund one-time appropriation to support improvements to the portal, and the new position would enable the agency to handle multiple projects simultaneously. In Decision Unit E 127, 1 program officer is recommended to assist the Deputy Secretary of State elections and would be responsible for managing the translation of election materials into multiple languages and ensuring translated documents are available in a timely manner, as well as conducting outreach to increase awareness of translated documents. The agency has indicated Nevada is a diverse state with many residents who speak and/or read limited English. Election documents created by the Secretary of State are not currently translated into languages other than English, leading to communities in the state that do not have easy access to information regarding elections. The agency noted a number of election-related materials that require translation, such as ballot materials, question guidebooks, 3 websites, their elections procedures manual, and approximately 150 forms. In decision units E128 and E130, 2 administrative assistant positions are recommended to be assigned to the Elections Division, and these individuals would be responsible for handling election-related public records requests and answering related phone calls and emails from the public and various other clerical duties. The agency has indicated election-related legislation passed in recent sessions has increased the number of queries the agency receives from members of the public, as well as public records requests. During the budget hearing, the committee discussed whether the new business process analyst would be needed if the one-time general fund appropriation for the Silver Flume portal is not approved, and the agency indicated the position would still be needed as there are numerous outstanding bugs that do need to be addressed. Regarding the new program officer position, the committee's requested information on the prioritization of election-related materials, and the agency has indicated they plan to set up a dedicated phone line with priority given to translating requested materials. And they also indicated they were working with the Office of New Americans to inform the prioritization of translating materials into languages other than English. The committees inquired how the cost of translation contracts would be supported, and the agency noted there is a one-time general fund appropriation of approximately $877,000 for voter education campaign materials, and a portion of this funding would be used to support the contracts. The committee discussed the workload related to the 2 new administrative assistance positions, and the agency cited approximately 3,000 phone calls and 2,000 emails it received over a 1-year period, and noted that questions received via these phone calls and emails may often be complex, multi-part questions that can require a substantial amount of time to answer appropriately. Staff would note there are some technical adjustments to properly account for operating costs, totaling approximately $22,000 over the biennium. The decision for the committee is, do the committees wish to approve general funds of $499,455 over the 2023 to 25 biennium for 4 new positions as recommended by the governor with the noted technical adjustments.
Thank you very much. I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve general funds of $499,455 over the 23-25 biennium for 4 new positions as recommended by the governor and with the noted technical adjustments as stated by staff.
Thank you very much for the motion from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, a second from Senator Cannizzaro. Any questions or comments? Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Go ahead, please, when you're ready.
The next major closing issue is an additional priority presented at the budget hearing by the Secretary of State that was not included by the executive budget. During the March 6th budget hearing, the Secretary of State provided a memo requesting additional resources for election integrity investigations, including 3 compliance audit investigators, 3 criminal investigators, and 1 dedicated unclassified Deputy Attorney General position in the Office of the Attorney General. The requested compliance audit investigators would review formal and informal compliance and fraud complaints, including election integrity violation reports, and coordinate resolution of violation in accordance with statutory and regulatory provisions. The criminal investigators would perform investigations of alleged criminal violations and submit completed case documentation for prosecution. When not engaged in election-related work, the new positions would focus on investigations relating to other divisions within the Secretary of State's office, such as securities, notary, and document preparation fraud. The Deputy Attorney General, which would be housed within the Office of the Attorney General, would provide consistency and attention to legal issues and advise investigators on best practices. The position would address the existing growing legal workload for the Elections Division, along with additional legal work for other Secretary of State divisions. The Office of the Attorney General has confirmed it could accommodate an additional position in its Government and Natural Resources Division if funding were provided. The agency testified that there are no concerns with legitimacy and transparency of elections in Nevada. However, the number of election integrity violation reports received by the Secretary of State has grown in recent years from approximately 50 per election year in 2018 to over 700 in 2022, representing a 1,300% increase. Every election integrity violation report requires analysis and review by a compliance audit investigator, with escalation to a criminal investigator if further action is warranted. The agency indicated the additional positions would improve the timeliness of investigations of allegations of criminal violations of election law, which may enhance voter confidence of elections in the state. During the budget hearing, the committees noted the Department of Public Safety Investigations Division is authorized to assist the Secretary of State with investigations. The agency indicated that it has used the Investigations Division, including approximately 80 cases, following the 2020 election. However, the Investigations Division does face staff vacancy issues. Additionally, the agency indicated that its investigations related to securities, elections, and notarios are specialized, and it would benefit from having dedicated specialized staff to investigate these cases. There is a table on page 20 of the document which displays the costs for the positions, and if the committees wish to approve the Secretary of State's request, general funds of $941,600 would be added to this budget, and general funds of $252,189 would be added to the Office of the Attorney General's budget through a technical adjustment. On page 21, there are 4 options the committee may wish to consider. The first option, option A, approve general funds of $1.2 million over the 2023 to 25 biennium to add 3 compliance audit investigators and 3 criminal investigators in the Secretary of State budget funded with general funds of $941,600, and 1 Deputy Attorney General in the Office of the Attorney General funded with general funds of $252,189 in the Attorney General budget through a technical adjustment. Option B, approve general funds of $941,600 in this budget to add 3 compliance audit investigators and 3 criminal investigators, but not approve additional funding for the Deputy Attorney General in the Office of the Attorney General. Option C, approve general funds of $252,189 to add 1 Deputy Attorney General position in the Office of the Attorney General budget through a technical adjustment, but not approve funding in this budget as requested by the Secretary of State. Or D, do not approve additional positions for the Secretary of State or the Office of the Attorney General.
Thank you very much. Senator Titus, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple questions, if I might. First, do you know the overall vacancy rate currently in the Secretary of State's office?
I do not have that information in front of me.
Madam Chair, it would be okay?
Yes, I was just looking down in Las Vegas and I saw the Secretary of State, but I see that we have someone else here in Crescent City. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, through you to Senator Titus. I believe that the current vacancy rate is around 25%. We've had some turnover specifically with some of these investigator positions we've been asking for. One of our civil investigators moved to from one division to another. So we have 1 open civil investigator position, and I believe we have currently 3 open criminal investigator positions as well.
Okay,
Would
so-
you state, I'm sorry, Senator Titus,
Gabriel-
would you state your name for the record?
Gabriel DeCara, Chief Deputy Secretary of State for the record.
So in terms of real live persons, that 25% vacancy, is that 4 people that you're?
Apologies, Senator. So that is the overall vacancy rate for the office, and I believe that relates to between 30 and 35 FTE.
All right,
FTE
30
positions.
to 35 FTEs, and specifically 4 in the investigation component?
Yes, Senator, that's correct.
All right, thank you. So just thank you, that was my question. Now just a statement why I have an opportunity. I think it's dangerous that we're going to potentially asked for over $1 million, almost $1 million over what the governor recommended. I think it's a very slippery slope that we're looking at here when they already have a vacancy rate of 25% for, in particular, in the department that they're asking to put more bodies in. And so, Madam Chair, while I have an opportunity, I suggest D. And I know there'll be other people making suggestions, but I think this is one where we have to make sure that we stay within what our budget is. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. And Secretary, if you have any comments you would like to add, please feel free.
Yes, Chair. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your time today. Cisco Aguilar, Secretary of State, for the record. We are trying to add investigators into the securities division as well. Right now, we're using the resources of our securities regulations team to investigate election law issues. With the investigators spending time on election matters, eliminates some of the time they could be protecting our most vulnerable elderly community who are suffering from securities fraud. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And after hearing the testimony from the agency that there's no concerns with the legitimacy and the transparency of the elections in Nevada, but they've had an increase in the number of election integrity violations reports received, I do believe that this office needs additional staffing. However, I'd like to make a motion for an item E, which is not in our document, which would be to approve the general funds to add 2 compliance audit investigators and 1 criminal investigator in the Secretary of State's budget, funded with general funds, and 1 deputy attorney general in the Office of the Attorney General, funded with general funds. That would be in the Office of the Secretary of State, and give our staff the technical authority to make the technical adjustments as needed for this new E decision.
And I'll accept a second from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno made the motion, and second from Senator Canizaro. And Ms. Crockett, do you have some cost estimates for that?
I do, Madam Chair, Kathy Crockett. I estimate it would cost approximately $465,000 over the biennium within this budget, and this cost for the Deputy Attorney General in the Office of the Attorney General would remain the same at $252,189. So it would be roughly $712,000 in general fund over the biennium, with technical adjustments to iron out any minor details.
Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. All right, a discussion on the motion. Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will absolutely be a no on this item. Although I appreciate the adjustment there, I still think with the opening and vacancies that they have currently, I think that they need to fill those and then tell us they can't get this job done before I would be okay with giving them any more positions. So I am going to be a no. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, please go ahead and state your name for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gabriel DeCara for the record. In regards to Senator Titus's comments, several of those vacancies are relatively new. Those are positions that we are currently, I think we have offers out to several employees. One of the positions only just closed last week. So we are very much in the process of doing our best to fill those. However, currently, just in regards to securities, for example, we have 185 open cases in securities. 132 of those are criminal. So the other 56 or 53 would be civil investigations. These are complex cases that require a lot of time and specialized knowledge. And as we add in the election investigations as well, even if we were fully staffed, it would take a significant amount of time to reduce that backlog. So that was the reason for our request. Thank you very much, Senator. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to make a comment. I think the work that this committee is doing as we look at a very comprehensive compensation package for state employees, we've heard from every department, every division within the state that they're hurting for employees. However, I think the work that we have been doing will make these open positions that have been sitting open for a long time much more attractive, and will be easier to fill in the future. So I made the motion and will be voting in favor of the motion.
Thank you very much. That's important information. All right, with that, all those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Okay, I have a nay from Senator Gocochea, Senator Titus, Assemblywoman Kasama, Assemblyman Hafen, Assemblywoman Dickman, and Assemblyman O'Neill. Did I cover everybody? Thank you very much. Motion passes, and please go ahead.
Kathy Crockett, Fiscal Analysis Division. There are 4 other closing items, including closing item number 4, which is approval for carryover language in the Appropriations Act to authorize the agency to approach the Interim Finance Committee to transfer funding related to credit card processing fees. Fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 and 2 be closed as recommended by the governor. Other closing item 3 be closed with noted technical adjustment. And the language recommended by the governor in closing item number 4 be included in the 2023 Appropriations Acts and request authority for further necessary technical adjustments.
Thank you very much. Seeing no discussion, I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, second by Senator Canizaro. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you very much. Motion passes. And we'll move on.
The next budget is the Help America Vote Act, HAVA election reform that begins on page 25. There is one major closing issue in this budget. The governor recommends general funds of $926,021 over the upcoming biennium to change the source of funding for positions and certain operating costs in this budget from federal HAVA grant funds to general funds. The agency indicates federal grant funds would be unable to sustain the positions in the long term. If the governor's recommendation is approved, costs in this budget would be supported by general funds, interest earnings, and federal Homeland Security grant funds once some minor remaining reserved funds have been expended. In Decision Unit E500, the governor recommends general funds of $778,931 to change the funding source for all 4 positions in this budget with a corresponding increase in reserves. Decision Unit E501 recommends general funds of $147,090 to change the funding source for approximately $80,000 in existing costs and add approximately $64,000 in additional costs related to postage, phone line, and email costs. Regarding the rationale for the funding source change, the agency indicates 2 of the 4 positions in this budget were historically funded with general fund. During the pandemic, the costs of the 2 positions were transferred to federal HAVA grant funds as a general funds saving measure. Costs for the other 2 positions historically funded with federal HAVA grant funds are recommended to change to general funds due to costs associated with the implementation of the top-down voter registration system, which the agency intends to partially support with federal HAVA grant funds. The governor recommends one-time funding totaling $30.5 million, including $5.5 million in federal HAVA grant funds to support the registration and elections management solutions projects, which would provide for automatic voter registration as required by Assembly Bill 432 of the 2021 session, and a centralized top-down database that collects and stores voter registration information as required by Assembly Bill 422 of the 2021 session. During the budget hearing, the committee has asked the agency whether it anticipated receiving additional federal HAVA grant funds in the future, and the agency indicated that no additional HAVA grant funds are available at this time, and it is unknown whether additional funds will be available in the future. There is a technical adjustment to properly account for all position costs, which would increase general funds by $8,067 over the biennium with a corresponding increase in reserves. The decision for the committee is, do the committees wish to approve general funds of $934,088 over the 2023 to 25 biennium to change the funding source for positions and certain operating costs from federal HAVA grant funds to general funds with technical adjustments to align funding sources for position costs. And as this is the only decision point in this budget, staff would also request authority to make further technical adjustments in the budget as necessary.
Thank you very much. And with seeing no discussion, I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve this decision unit as stated by staff and further give staff the authority to make further technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. Second from Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? And motion passes. Thank you very much. Please go. Oh, we're on to the next thing.
That's it for her.
We are on to the next item. Thank you very much, Ms. Crockett. And now we'll move on to the Public Employees Benefit Program. And there are three PEB budgets, one which received a hearing earlier in session and two are staff closed budgets. Mr. Hartz will present the closing documents. So please, Mr. Hartz, go ahead when you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Alex Hartz, Fiscal Analysis Division. As the chair said, there are three budgets to close this morning. The first one is the main operating budget for the Public Employees Benefits Program. You heard this budget on February 17th, and it begins on page 29. The other two budgets are staff closed budgets, and we'll cover those shortly. So if you turn to page 31 of your closing packet, you will see that there are three major closing issues to cover this morning. This is the same as when the budget was heard. If you turn to page 31 of your closing packet, the first aspect of major closing issue number one, of which there are 3 points upon which I will touch on, is the state funding or contributions, begins on page 32, for active employees group insurance. As recommended by the governor, for the plan design, in other words, the benefits, for state employees, the governor recommends that the active employee group insurance contribution be established at $730.06 in fiscal year 24 and $758.60 in fiscal year 25. This is the amount that has been calculated as needed to cover the cost for state active employee group insurance for the design adopted by the PEB board as well as recommended by the governor for the upcoming biennium. If you turn to page 33, you will see a table showing at the top of the page for the state contribution for the retired employee group insurance. And this amount that's shown, $515 and $545 in fiscal year 25, represents the base state contribution or subsidy, if you will, that a retired employee with 15 years of service who is not yet Medicare eligible would receive. Now, in each case, these are composite amounts, and the state contribution varies based upon the plan and tier that the employee or the retiree selects. The second major component of major issue number one is underneath that table, and that is the rebalancing of the RGGI assessment and AGIS contribution. This was brought to your attention as part of the budget hearing because this represented a change in policy and practice. Staff does not have any particular concerns with regard to it. What this does is recognize that when the state contribution amounts are being determined, that it recognizes that retired employees, to no one's surprise, actually cost more to insure than active employees who tend to be younger and healthier. The committee will turn to the next page, page 34. Underneath the table, which was included in your highlight as well, that showed the effect of the rebalancing, begins under the hearing discussion and post-hearing update information section, begins the third issue that I will bring to your attention. And this relates to the conversation the committees had on March 30th when there was a work session done for compensation issues. Specifically, the committees discussed doing a supplemental funding or providing additional funding for active employees' health savings account and health reimbursement arrangement amounts in addition to what's included in the governor's recommended budget. Specifically, if the committees will turn to page 35, the discussion that occurred during your work session was by plan and tier, or at least by tier, if you will. So an individual can cover themselves, they can cover a spouse or a partner, they can cover themselves and their children, or they can cover themselves and the family. And so during the work session, there was discussion about adding between $300 and $500, depending on the participant tier. So this table shows you that discussion. For example, in a participant tier, the governor's budget recommends a baseline amount of $600. Then there was a supplemental amount of $300 approved by the PEB board in December of 2022. And then the optional enhancement row reflects the amount that the committees discussed during your work session. Staff has reviewed the calculations and believes that in addition to providing a 5% supplemental amount, if you will, to in recognition that with all of the sum total of the compensation proposals under consideration, there will likely be more employees joining the state and therefore would be eligible for this. So at the bottom of that page, it provides that there would be approximately $9.8 million in general fund in fiscal year 24 and $10 million in fiscal year 2025 if the committees wish to approve providing the additional $300 to $500 amount, depending on the coverage tier that the participant is enrolled in. On page 36 is a table that shows you the cost, the projected cost, including the 5% for additional participants and position turnover, showing the $9.8 million and the $10 million. If the committee wishes to move forward with this, staff would make a suggestion that in the current biennium, so for last legislative session, the money committees approved adding general fund appropriations to this budget in the amount of $6 million a year to provide a one-month participant premium holiday. In doing so, the money committees added language to the Appropriations Act that indicated that any unspent dollars would need to revert at the end of each fiscal year. And that staff is pointing that out, that if the committees move forward with this, they may wish to add language to the Appropriations Act such that if any funds are not distributed to an individual's HSA or HRA account, that those funds be reverted to the general fund at the end of each year. And then lastly, as part of this discussion, fiscal staff is going to be requesting authority to enter technical adjustments to reconcile transfer amounts between the three budget accounts. So at the top of page 37 are the decisions for the committee with regard to major issue number 1. So first, do the committees wish to approve the benefit levels funded in the budget for the 2023-25 biennium, including the plan benefit enhancements and rebalancing of the RGGI assessment, AGIS assessment contribution? Secondly, do the committees wish to approve general fund appropriations of $9.8 million in fiscal year 24 and $10 million in fiscal year 25 to provide additional annual health savings account and health reimbursement arrangement contributions of between $300 and $500 based upon a participant's coverage tier? And do the committees wish to recommend the addition of back language in the 2023 Appropriations Act limiting the use of the general fund appropriations to funding the enhanced HSA HRA contributions and requiring general fund appropriations that have not been distributed to the participants to be reverted at the end of each fiscal year? And do the committees approve authority for fiscal staff to enter technical adjustments to reconcile the transfer amounts from the retired employee group insurance budget and the active employee group insurance budget to PEB operating budget, which is this one, as well as any other technical adjustments that may be necessary?
Thank you, Mr. Hartz. Any discussion? I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve all of the listed items as described by our staff, But in addition, I would like to add to that funding to be recommended funding in the back language of the Appropriations Act to return the life insurance back to the pre-pandemic levels.
I'll accept a motion from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, a second from Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just a question for staff. If we do that, the extra one that the Assistant Chair recommended, what does that look from a budgetary number?
Mr. Hartz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Titus, the initial calculations suggest that the low end is about $2.1 million in each year. We are working with staff from PEB to get a final high-end number, but it would appear to be less than $2.5 million a year to return life insurance to the pre-pandemic level for both active and retirees.
And that's on top of the HSA, HRA cost?
That would be correct. That would be a different cost.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments? All right, with that, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Go ahead, please, when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Alex Hartz. The second major issue is on page 37. The governor recommends various adjustments to the reserve categories in the PEB budget to maintain actuarially determined levels of funding to cover unanticipated expenditures. If you turn to page 38, there is a table which reflects Decision Unit M102, which shows that excess reserves are being reduced for purposes of funding the increases in the incurred but not reported reserve and the catastrophic reserve. Staff would note that this has been done, this is typically the practice that's been done in the past. This reduces the need for additional general fund appropriations to be added to the budget and funded through the plan design. With regard to this, there will likely be excess reserves in excess of the $600,000 that the governor has included in the budget in the second year. Excess reserves, as the committee is aware, typically occur due to underutilization or cost savings that the plan has been able to accrue over the course of the year. In the past, the money committees, beginning in 2019, added language to the Authorizations Act, which instructed PEB and the PEB board that before it could modify the plan design by using excess reserves to enrich the benefits, that the program would have to come to the Interim Finance Committee and submit a work program request to get the approval of the money committees via IFC. You will recall that this was done in fiscal year 22 for the current year, and then they had a 3-year plan that enriched benefits in 24 and 25 using excess reserves. So this practice at the bottom of page 38, staff is recommending that the committee may wish to consider including similar language in the 2023 Authorizations Act, which would require Interim Finance Committee approval to approve excess reserves should they become available and the PEB board wishes to increase benefits. If the committee turns to page 39, the decision for the committee is, do the committees wish to approve the reserve balances and the reallocation of reserves as recommended in the executive budget for the 2023 biennium? Staff would note that that other language, the Authorizations Act language, if the committee is interested in that, that is included as other closing item number 10.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? All those, I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve, as stated by staff.
Move to approved by Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, and in the middle of a choke, I think second from Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much. Motion passes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The third major closing issue in this budget, the governor recommends reserve reductions of $18,614 over the 2023-25 biennium to change PEB's vacant unclassified chief information officer to an unclassified lead insurance counsel position. The agency indicates that this change would provide the program with dedicated legal assistance for the healthcare and insurance issues. As the committees are aware, PEB currently receives legal counsel from the Attorney General's office. The drawback to that is that staff from the Attorney General's office often changes, and there is a fairly lengthy get up to speed period, if you will, for each new Deputy Attorney General who begins to represent PEB. This would resolve that issue. With regard to the vacant position, PEB receives its IT support through the state's Division of Information Technology Services. The decision for the committee is on page 40, and that is, do the committees wish to approve the governor's recommendation for reserve reductions of $18,614 over the 2023-25 biennium to change PEB's unclassified chief information officer position to an unclassified lead insurance counsel position and provide fiscal staff with the authority to enter any necessary technical adjustments.
Thank you very much. And I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve this decision union as stated by staff and provide the fiscal staff with the authority to enter any necessary technical adjustments.
Thank you very much. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno makes the motion, second by Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much. Motion passes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Alex Hartz. Beginning on page 40, there are 10 other closing items. The first 8 in the table, underneath the table is number 9. Staff recommends a technical adjustment to the base budget to reflect that the program no longer occupies space in the Bryan Building, and therefore the rent that's included in the base budget of $152,766 in each year of the biennium should be eliminated. The second other closing item staff will point out is other closing item number 10, which I had previously referenced, which is continuation of back language in the Authorizations Act, which would require PEB to seek IFC approval to change the plan benefit design. Fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 through 8 be closed as recommended by the governor, and other closing item be closed at 9 with the noted technical adjustment. Regarding other closing item 10, do the committees wish to approve continuing the back language in the 2023 Authorizations Act to require the Public Employees Benefit Program to obtain IFC approval, Interim Finance Committee approval, prior to reallocating reserves to change benefits? Lastly, fiscal staff requests authority to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much. And I will accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve the closing items 1 through 8 be closed as recommended by the governor, and other closing item 9 be closed with the noted technical adjustments. Closing item 10, wish to approve that we continue with the back language in the 2023 Authorizations Act to require the Public Employees Benefit Program to obtain Interim Finance Committee approval prior to allocating reserves to change benefits. And finally, give authority to our fiscal staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much. Seeing no discussion, I accept a motion from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, a second from Senator Canizaro. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much. Motion passes. We'll move on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will now begin presenting the 2 budgets which the committees have not previously reviewed for the Public Employees Benefits Program and for which fiscal staff is responsible for developing closing recommendations. I will pause following my presentation of each budget to allow for questions. When I presented the last budget in this group and questions have been addressed, the chair may wish to ask for a single motion for closing consideration of the budgets that we have discussed, and that single motion is on page 53 of the closing packet. So the first staff closed budget, which the committee has not previously reviewed, begins on page 47, and this is the active employees group insurance program. There are three other closing items. Staff would bring your attention to other closing item number 3, which is the state contribution for active employees group insurance. As you turn to the top of page 48, you will see that same table showing the $730.06 in fiscal year 24 and $758.60. In discussing with PEB, the program has requested that it would be easier from an accounting and tracking standpoint if the AGIS assessments are reflected in whole dollar amounts. Accordingly, fiscal staff requests authority to reflect these amounts as $730 in fiscal year 2024 and $759 in fiscal year 25. This adjustment would result in a net increase in revenue of approximately $110,000 over the upcoming biennium. There is also a technical adjustment that needs to, that fiscal staff is recommending to ensure that the revenues that are in this budget account match the transfer into the main budget account 1338. So fiscal staff requests authority to enter technical adjustments to correct these discrepancies, and the Governor's Finance Office and the agency concur with these adjustments. And then at the time of the motion, fiscal staff recommends that the committee close this budget consistent with the committee's closing action for the Public Employees Benefits Program. Are there any questions, Madam Chair?
Any discussion from the committee? Seeing none, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The last budget begins on page 49, and this is the budget for the retired employees group insurance. This is the account in which the state's contributions flow into this account before being transferred into budget account 1338. Again, three other closing items. Item number 3 is the same as the discussion that we just had with the active employees group insurance. This is the budget account and the contributions which fund the state's contribution for retirees. The recommended assessment for the upcoming biennium is 3.11% in fiscal year 24 and 3.18% in fiscal year 25. And these are the assessments that are charged on assessments charged on gross salaries, and this is what funds the state's contribution. If you turn to page 50, you will see that the same $515 in fiscal year 24 as the base state contribution, and $545 in fiscal year 25 for the base state contribution as well. As the same as what you heard in budget account 1338. Fiscal staff is also requesting technical authority to make technical adjustments in this budget to, again, adjust the revenues to match the transfers between budget accounts, and the Governor's Office and the agency concur with the adjustments that need to be made. And finally, fiscal staff recommends closing this budget consistent with the committee's closing actions for the Public Employees Benefits Program. Madam Chair, if there are no questions on this budget account, I will move on to page 53 and the actual closing recommendation.
Not seeing any questions, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the decision for the subcommittee, or the committees, excuse me, is as previously noted, fiscal staff has identified the budgets that are recommended to be closed, and along with the identified technical adjustments identified below. So the first one is budget account 1368, Public PEB, Retired Employees Group Insurance. Fiscal staff recommends that this budget be closed as recommended by the Governor and requests authority for staff to enter technical adjustments to align the fund transfers and close the budget consistent with the committee's closing actions for the Public Employee Benefits Program, budget account 1338, and make other technical adjustments as necessary. With regard to budget account 1390, PEB, Active Employees Group Insurance. Fiscal staff recommends this budget be closed as recommended by the governor. Requests authority for staff to enter technical adjustments to align the fund transfer and close this budget consistent with the committee's closing actions for the Public Employees Benefits Program operating budget, budget account 1338. Revise the active employees group insurance subsidy assessment to reflect the whole dollar amount of $730 in fiscal year 2024 and $759 in fiscal year 2025, and make any other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much. Seeing no discussion, I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to close budget 1368 and 1390 as just stated by staff.
Thank you very much. I accept a motion from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, a second from Senator Canizaro. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
So with that, that brings us to our last item on the agenda, public comment. Please, if you're going to call in, dial 888-475-4499. Meeting ID is 895-1633-2981, and press pound. And then when asked for participant ID, please press pound. We will start here in Carson City. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Tess Opferman here on behalf of the AFSCME retirees. I just want to sincerely thank this committee for bringing back life insurance. I know I was able to meet with many of you over the past couple days. This committee acted very swiftly, and we just really appreciate and want to say thank you for bringing back those life insurance benefits.
Thank you very much, and please go ahead.
Kent Irvin, Nevada Faculty Alliance, ditto to Ms. Opferman on the life insurance. Very much appreciate that restoration to pre-pandemic levels. I'd also like to note the great new contributions to HSAs and HRAs. If I have the numbers right, between $600 and $800 in those accounts for all extra, and those accounts for all participants. We in PEB will have to do a really big education campaign on how those 14,000 participants who haven't had HRAs in their plans before, how they can use them for reimbursing qualified expenses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair. Terry Laird, TerriLaird, Executive Director for the Retired Public Employees of Nevada. And I would just ditto the remarks made by the two former speakers. Thank you very much for your help.
Thank you. And please go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Carter Bundy with AFSCME. We also want to thank you for the work on life insurance and on HSAs, HRAs, and thank you for your continued good work on state employee compensation.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing no one else here in Carson City, I see no one in Las Vegas. We'll go to the Lions BPS when you're ready.
If you would like to provide public comment, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers to provide public comment.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will close our meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your attention. And I would like to especially thank our fiscal staff for all their hard work and expertise as we go through these budgets. So thank you very much, and I hope you all have a good rest of the day. This meeting is adjourned.